Hey everyone, I'm Lee Stranahan, independent journalist, host of the Sputnik, that's Russian-funded radio show, The Backstory, and the founder of Citizen Journalism School, citizenjournalismschool.com. Do me a favor, if you're not following me on Twitter, hit the subscribe button and ring that bell that will notify you when I have new videos coming out, because I'm going to be giving you a fair bit of info. So there's a few ways to look at the Russian-Ukrainian war that's going on right now. And what I mean by that is there's a few different angles you can look at it as. I'm not talking about opinions, I'm talking about angles. You can look at it in a military sense. Who's winning and who's losing militarily? And I'm not qualified to talk about that because I'm not a military person. I'm blind in one eye, I was never in the military. And I leave that to people like Scott Ritter and Mark Frost, who are ex-Marines who are on my show all the time. And they can talk about that stuff better than I can. You can look at it from an economic standpoint, the war. How are the sanctions affecting things? How is Russia dealing with the sanctions? How are they dealing with the SWIFT thing? That's a different angle. So one's military, another's economic. But another one is in terms of the information war. And that one I'm very qualified to speak on because I've been a journalist for 13 years. And before that, I was a visual effects artist, graphic artist at the TV show Access Hollywood, and worked in TV and film for a long time. And I've been doing video production going back old school to a thing called the Video Toaster back to the early 90s. And I've been watching media a long time. Let me tell you how that's going to break out and why you, yes, you, the person actually watching this right now is so important. First off, your opinion or what you do does not really affect the military or the economic stuff that much. Does that make sense? It's not really. You personally, I'm not knocking you. I'm sure you're wonderful. But what you do is not going to matter that much. But you, actually in the information war that's going on, make a big difference. And here's how. You have the ability to share things with other people. You have the ability to subscribe to the YouTube feed, follow me on Twitter, ring that bell so you make sure you get things updated. You have that ability. And every one of you exercises that ability maybe dozens of times a day. Whenever you share something that you think is interesting, it has a ripple effect. So you share it, somebody else sees it. If they think it's good content, they think it's interesting, and they think other people should see it, they share it, and so on and so on. I'll do the shampoo commercial. If you're old, you know what I'm talking about. But you have a big impact, and every one of you, it's not about you individually, it's about everyone, has this ability right now, which is why the elites and the globalists are scared to death and why they're using social media censorship. So here's the way the info war is going to play out, in my opinion. We're on day 4 right now. I'm doing this on Sunday, but day 4 or 5, depending upon how you add it up, of the Russian-Ukrainian war. On day 1 and 2, I'm seeing it already, and there's a reason I'm seeing it. I made a joke in my Twitter feed the other day that the truth has a distinctively pro-Russian bias right now. And that's true. And here's what I mean. The case for Ukraine and against Russia is based on literal lies. And the Vladimir Putin case is based on the truth. And because the truth is out there, and you can look it up. If I say, for instance, the CIA has a history of working with Ukrainian Nazis, and that sounds frickin' crazy to you. What are you talking about? The CIA works with Ukrainian Nazis? What are you talking about? I can tell you to go to an internet search engine right now and type in "to catch a Nazi," Lebed, Lebed. Look up Lebed. To catch a Nazi, Lebed. And you can go and do that and look it up and read a long story that was published in 1986 about how the U.S. deep state, that's the CIA, right, the military-industrial complex, has been working with Ukrainian Nazis and hiding it for decades. War criminals. Then you can go look up what Vladimir Putin's talking about, Banderites, and you may go, I have no idea what the hell he's talking about, Banderites. But if you read that article I just mentioned, you'll read all about who Banderites are and what they are. And you'll start to go, no, wait a second. If Putin's talking about these Banderites and denazification, the article I just read that was published in 86, it's not defending Putin. It's not pro-Russian disinformation. It was written back when the Soviet Union was still a thing. But it shows the truth. And here's the other way you can look it up. If that's still not enough for you, go to the CIA's, the CIA has a website. Go type in CIA FOIA Archives, FOIA, and you'll find the FOIA Archives site. And they've got a search bar up top there. Type in LEBED, and you'll start to find stuff from the CIA's own website where they've been talking about the Ukrainian Nazis they were working with and the Banderites and Stefan Bandera, the guy behind the Tiki Torch March. What I mean behind, remember Charlottesville? Remember all the freak out about Donald Trump? Anybody who's pro-liberty is going to start to realize the game that Joe Biden's been playing and Barack Obama's been playing, and that the U.S. deep state, the State Department and the CIA have literally been using Ukraine as a wedge against Russia and pushing on the side of Ukrainian Nazis for decades. It's not new. And again, here's what's going to happen. Not all of you, but some of you who have no idea what the hell I'm talking about are going to type in what I said. You're going to look it up. You're going to read the article, and your mind is going to be blown. I've seen it happen many times. And you are then going to share that information with other people. Maybe online, but maybe just at the lunchroom at work or something like that. Maybe just talking in line with people at the bank or whatever. You'll go, I actually read an article, and I didn't know anything about this Ukraine thing at first. Turns out Putin is telling the truth. Denazification is a thing. And I'm opposed to this U.S. deep state, military-industrial complex, globalist cabal. And anybody who thinks that's crazy, you've not done enough research. The other way you could spread the information is you can watch a film called Ukraine on Fire, executive produced by Oliver Stone. Then a film that I'm in called Revealing Ukraine. When I watched that film, Ukraine on Fire, my mind was blown. So the way the information war works is the truth does, and you know where you saw this? Russiagate and COVID-19. At first, lies ruled. But gradually, the truth got out, right? The truth has gotten out gradually. And at first, and I'll use a COVID example, when first people were talking about stuff like the Great Reset, that sounded crazy. It relates to the Truckers Convoy, which is COVID as well. But then when you look up and you see Klaus Schwab actually has written a book on the Great Reset, and that's why a guy like Rogan is so important in this. Joe, I'm available anytime you want to fly me down to Austin. I'm in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and it's freaking cold, so anytime. But this is what's so scary to people about a guy like Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan doesn't tell you what to think. he, through long conversations, gives you the ability to figure it out. And this Great Reset thing, it's not some conspiracy nut theory. It's real. And the Banderite Nazi thing, it's real. And on day 4, not as many people know it as on day 5. And that's up to you. And it is. It's up to you. And people see the reaction in the information war. What they try to do with Rogan is they don't try to answer the arguments of his guest, not even him. The reason they hate Rogan is because he's making the information available to you. He's not forcing it down your throat. He's not giving you a conclusion. He's letting you make up your own damn mind. That's why they're so scared of him. That's why they wanted to ban him. But notice they didn't do it. They didn't do it. And they're ultimately not going to be able to shut me up. Furthermore, if they are able to shut me up, or if I should drop dead tomorrow, could happen, possible. But, you know, I have so much material out there already, thousands of hours of material that I've been talking about Banderites in Ukraine and Russiagate for literally 4 or 5 years now. I used to be a White House reporter, and people can, all of this is verifiable. And all of my material's out there, and people keep spreading it and circulating it. I still learn stuff. There's a video David Icke did, the footballer, who has really nailed a lot of stuff. He's exactly right on a lot of stuff. David Icke did a video about the round table groups years ago. I still learn from that video. People can still learn from Carol Quigley if you want to understand the machinations of the deep state. Tragedy and Hope explains the basis of this stuff in the 19th century. Cecil Rhodes, Milner's Kindergarten, and so on. So what I'm saying is, the thing about information is it tends to not go away. So in other words, anybody, and I am getting some threats, by the way, but if you think you can kill me and get rid of stuff, au contraire, all you're going to do, my material's out there forever. Does that make sense? In the same way that Ike's material from 3 decades ago, or Tragedy and Hope by Carol Quigley, you can still find it. And what's happening is the awakening that a lot of people are having is they're starting to realize how they're being lied to. And you are one of those people. Just by watching this so far, you can't be watching this for my good looks, or you're wondering if I'm going to sell advertising on my forehead, which is rather large. I'll admit that. I get those insults all the time. But I just point out that I have a big forehead because my brain is so large. But the point is, my appearances on RT, on Sputnik for 5 years now, hosting 10 to 15 hours of radio a week on Sputnik. I've done literally thousands of hours of radio by this point. And it's all out there and available. And a lot of it's very good. You know, some dumb jokes, because that's what I do. But a lot of very valuable material out there. And go check some of this stuff out. But you make a difference. And you sharing and letting other people know what's going on is what makes a difference. And I'm seeing it already in the Russia-Ukraine war. Some people are starting to realize that they don't want to be, they're Republicans, let's say. Trump hasn't figured this out yet. Trump has not figured out, he doesn't want to be on the same side as Obama and Soros and Hillary Clinton and John Kerry, a Skull and Bones member, John Kerry, and Bush, Skull and Bones member. He doesn't want to be on the same side. He hasn't figured that out yet. But you, that's right, you can make a big difference. Because if you don't understand the connection of Soros to Ukraine, look up International Renaissance Foundation, and you'll see that's George Soros's foundation. That's the single biggest funder of groups in Ukraine. And do you think Soros is doing it? You know, people, sometimes when they start to hear, someone was talking about this on Twitter earlier, they start to hear, oh, well, Putin's going after the deep state. Then they question his motives. You know what? If I was trying to get you not to understand the truth, I'd have you question his motives on that. Do you then turn around and go, well, gee, do you think Soros helped Ukraine because he really cares about the Ukrainian people? No, he's fucked the Ukrainian people. I care about the Ukrainian people. I really do. And that's why I hope Vladimir Putin helps free them from the imposed regime, including this guy Zelensky, who's got good PR, but this guy's supporting the Nazis. And look into that. And everybody who doesn't fall when the race card gets played, or when something's called, oh, you can't talk about Soros, that's anti-Semitic, and goes, no, it's absurd. Right? You're seeing that same argument used on Zelensky. Oh, he can't be supporting the Nazis. He's Jewish. Well, he's clearly supporting the Nazis, and I take him at his word. I don't know if he's observant. That's that's for my friend Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro. That's another guy you should look up. That'll blow your mind. If you want to understand propaganda, why Zionism is not Judaism, and in fact, how anti-Semitic Zionism is, particularly the early stuff, go look up Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro, who hates Ben Shapiro, by the way. Yaakov Shapiro. Look him up on YouTube. But anyway, let me end it. And by the way, all this stuff relates. You notice Zelensky, because Zionism is neoconism. It's the same thing. If you notice all the neocons who've been surrounding Trump, that includes Bolton, Pompeo, Nikki Haley, all these neocons, Steve Bannon, my old boss, helped put these neocons in, particularly Bolton. And the reason he did, Bannon talks against neocons sometimes, but Zionism is neoconism. They're the same thing. Look up who Bill Kristol's father was. Look up statements he made. Irving Kristol, the father of the neocons. Look up who Victoria Nuland, who was sent her in 2014 in Ukraine. Look up who her husband is, Robert Kagan. Look up their connection to the Brookings Institution. And Strobe Talbot, Bill Clinton's Oxford roommate, who is right at the center of the second. Don't you understand? The same people supporting Ukraine now are the people behind the second impeachment of Trump. It's exactly the same people. Go look into it. Again, Trump hasn't figured that out yet, but you can help him. Because if enough patriots, people who actually love America and the principles it was founded on, and that doesn't mean slavery wasn't a contradiction, but slavery's been overplayed by the forces funded by George Soros. See, what he's doing in the Ukraine is he's using, essentially, let me say this. What Soros has pushed in is essentially Ukraine Lives Matter, which is racist Ukrainians pushing this idea of racial purity in the same way Black Lives Matter is a racist movement. And a lot of you know that already. And if that's baffling to you, you should listen to me sometime on that stuff and on the lies about the Black Panthers and other stories I've been talking about for years. But anyway, I'm getting far afield. But it all does, as Grateful Dead fans say, it's all one song. Hey now. So go check out some of this stuff, but realize you're important and that we're winning the information war a day at a time, a little at a time. And the reason we're going to win it is the truth is on our side, and the truth shall set you free. Till next time, I'm Lee Stranahan. Bye-bye. Oh, by the way, let me just mention, you can also donate below somewhere. I've got a donate link. Check that out. I would appreciate that. Bye.